Hello everyone, and today we are going to learn how we can create an image compare in Elementor for free. And now you can ignore this design, but I just wanted to showcase that you could add any image around here, you could add any icon around here, or you could just have a line around here with not making anything complicated. And it should technically work with anything. It doesn't have to be image. You could just add two different containers and have some styling into it, and it should still work. So yeah, let's get started with it. One thing is I want to shout out this Adam Argyle, I assume that's the name, on CodePen, who created this effect, and I used this as a reference to make it work for my style for Elementor. So this is for something that I use for a reference and then change it to match it. So make sure you could check it out, Adam Argyle on CodePen, if you want. And again, ignore all the text. I'm still working on this page, but the code is there and this image is there. And till the time the video is out, this page should be available with all the text changed. So first thing first, we will do is we will add a container inside of it, which would have both our images. Okay, so I'll make it full width. Let's keep it like this, make it be at the center like this. You don't have to do the same styling. I'm just showing you what I'm doing. Okay, instead of this, we will add two images. One thing that you need to know, that images should be the same size, the resolution of them should be same. So for example, this image is 1920 by 1280 and this image is 1920 by 1280. So you have to make sure that both the images are same. Let's duplicate the second image. Let's select the second image and add a second image. One thing that we need to make sure is go into our style and make sure it is set to 100% width. And what it does is that it forces it to be 100%, else it would not be 100% sometimes. For example, if I make this, let's say full width, you could see that the image is not actually stretching. But if I would have kept it to 100, it would stretch to the container size. So we have to make sure it is same. Do it for both of these containers and 100. Like this. I am actually going to reference the one that I've made to make sure that I don't mess anything up. So the first image, we are actually going to give a CSS class of compare before. So let's copy the compare before. So the left image is going to be our compare before and the right one is going to call compare after. And to explain to you how this works is, we basically create a mask. So if I, let's say, copy this one, again, this one requires Elementor Pro, but if you don't have Elementor Pro, don't worry, you could actually watch my another tutorial, which is like how to use custom CSS without Elementor Pro. And that way you could still use this. I'm going to use custom CSS panel because it just makes it easier. Or maybe no, I'll just use the easy method, or not easy, the free method. I'll add the HTML because we are going to need JavaScript, right? So we are already going to use HTML widget, so might as well use the free method. So HTML widget, I just added it. Make sure you add it at the bottom, okay? So that the code runs after everything is loaded. So make sure it is at the bottom, okay? So let's copy this one, which is now because we are using like HTML widget, we have to use like this style tag whenever we want to use like custom CSS and add any CSS that we want inside of this. If I choose compare before and then added it around here, you could suddenly see what just happened, okay? Because we just created a linear gradient and we just placed it at the 50th position. So if I do 20, 50, 80 like this, and this is like POS, which is like global value. And basically we will say that use 50% if position value is not there, okay? And basically what that means is that when the page is loaded for the first time, it would be showing 50% of the left image and the 50% of the right image. And then when we change something, it would use that POS value. Now for the second one, we are actually going to use this mask of this one, okay? If you don't know what this color is, if I quickly create, let's say, a container to show you what's happening. Let me go to this and let me copy this linear gradient. Let me go into this. You don't need to do this. I'm just showing you what we are basically doing. And this is the linear gradient that we are using, which is like black color around here. and then white color around here like this. So wherever it is white, it is not being visible, because that's how mask works. Okay, so you could see even if we use different color, it's not going to be visible. Now it is a bit confusing to me because in like video editing softwares, usually white is something that is visible and black is something that is not visible, but I think so in coding it is opposite. So wherever it is black, it is showing the image, and wherever it is white, it is not showing the image. So we basically created a linear gradient with like no blurring effect, and then added and use like mask to do that. Okay, and we basically change the position of that mask to match our or to change the position of the mask so that our images are visible. So you could see we have POS like this, and the color is different. So one goes from white to black from left to right, and goes black to white from left to right. So you see 2 right, 0 0 4 0 and 3 0. So again, you could just think that it is going from black to white and white to black for one image. No need to get into super details. Now another thing is, we don't want it to be like this. We want this to be on top of each other. Obviously we could just use like position absolute, but I just added it via this one, and that is because if I use this CSS class, let me go into this one, copy this one, and let me just do is add position absolute like this. It is doing nicely, but you could say it is not, you see it is not being perfect. It needs to be at the center. So to do it in the center, we actually use these 3 values. I'm not going into detail, but this is how basically we make it be in the center by adding left top and translate value. I've already shown in like lots of tutorials, so I'm not going in depth. Just ignore how it looks for now. Okay, then we add an image compare. And what is image compare? Obviously we actually haven't added the code, because we want to add an input range which is going to be a slider. So let's go into this one, copy this around here, and you can see we actually added a slider around here, range slider like this. Let's go in here, let's copy the image compare and then copy it around here. And suddenly if I remove the appearance none, you could see what's happening. We just created our image compare to be like this. And now another thing is, the images are not being perfect. So what we need to do is, we need to select our images. If you don't see the navigator, select this one so that the selection gets easier. Make sure it is set to full width, and make sure this is set to full width. Now we also, in the container, we remove the padding completely like this. Else you see the range is not being from the left, there is some gap around here. So remove the padding. If I remove the size, you could see we actually added a range into this one. We are basically going to make this range change our POS value, which is like change the POS value, which will change the mask. And basically this range would change the mask value like this. Okay, when by default input like this comes with styling, so for that we actually use appearance none. And when we use appearance none, it removes the default styling and it allows us to do our own styling. Okay, so I'll just copy this again, go to my HTML widget and then copy it like this. And as soon as I did appearance none, you could see that the bar disappeared. And if I add a background, which is, I've currently set it to like transparent, right? But if I do red, you could see it is visible. But if I had not added appearance none, it wouldn't have worked. So appearance none removes the default styling and allows us to add our own styling. Maybe I keep it red for time being. And then cursor pointer is very basic. You can see my mouse is changing to like this icon. If it was not using cursor pointer, it would be like this shape, but I'm using cursor pointer and it changes my mouse to this pointy hand icon. Next we do is image compare WebKit slider thumb, which is like this dot. So let's just copy this one and then paste it. Again, I also didn't know what it was. Okay, so this is one thing. And when we do WebKit slider, what it did was, I actually created it to have 500 pixel height like this. You could see 500 pixel height, and because we have set it to red, it is actually getting bigger like this. So if this was 50 in size, you could see this is our range slider, and as I increase the size, it gets bigger, which is why we made it transparent and then made this 500 like this. And this one background, if I give red, if I make this like say 50, this is how it looks. Basically the dot that was available in the middle, we are just styling it by making, if we remove the appearance none, you could see that dot, we are just removing and styling it. This one is for like the background bar, and this one is for the dot which is in the middle. Okay. And what this also allows us is to make the container bigger. So right now you could see that this container is actually not actually stretching to this image size, right? Which can kind of be annoying, because if I add anything inside of this after this container, I mean, if I add an image, maybe not this big, let me like change the size. You could see it is not doing perfect. It is actually considering this container and then starting the image from here. Basically because both our images that we are used on it are using position absolute, that we added via the code around here, which is position absolute. It is also available around here option, and position absolute just makes it think that it should not take any space. Basically it makes it not take any space. It removes from the normal hierarchy. So our container is not being like the perfect size. So what we can simply do is we could go to our code in our HTML and then use this height as our styling. So if I make 500, you could say this is how it looks. Sorry, 5000. If I do 550, or if I do 550, you could see it just got bigger like this. So make sure it is actually being the same size as your image. Okay, so obviously you could see that it is actually getting bigger, and that is simply because this is set to full width, which is 100%, and this is set to like if I go to our main content, it is set to 50. So the styling is not perfect, because depending on the screen size, the image size would also change. So for that, you could actually do is you could change this to box layout, and that would make it have like the same value. Or you could also do is work with this one, but I don't think it works well. So 100% does not work well, which I don't understand why, because it should work, and I don't understand why it does not work. Okay, maybe if you know it, just let me know. But which is why I like to use pixel like this, 550, 500 pixels or something. Play around with it until you figure something out that works. Obviously we don't want this to get bigger every single time, so I'm going to change this to box layout. But if you have any other method, you could do it. It doesn't have to be limited to like box layout. And this one will always be 50% now, so you could see it would not change. Another way would be to like add some pixel value around here to have like specific style, but percentage is better, so make sure to use whatever you want. And right now this is 520, it's way too big, so let's just do 50, and it just looks nicer. You see, I also have added margin, and for some reason you could see there's like some space around here, and doing -10 just makes it look better. But again, you could play around with the -10 value to have whatever you want. So currently we actually got something that does this. I'm clicking currently because if we go to our preview page, you could see we can actually drag it from the left to right like this. So now to make sure this works and changes our POS value around here, we need to add our JavaScript. Now before we add JavaScript, these two values that you are seeing around here, I'll explain to you at the end. Basically this is different value for our for our tablet, and this is different value for our mobile, so we can make it responsive. So basically we are just changing the height of our this line to be 450 for tablet, because if I do this right now, you can see that this is being like too big, and right now this is also being like too big. So we want to have different values for our this line. Okay, So before we do and work with that, we will just go into this one. And now there's also something called DM range icon. This one is basically allows us to add the image that is around here, or it doesn't have to be image, you could just add an icon like this too, but we will also check that at the end. Now all we simply need to do is add this script now. Okay, to give you a brief overview, even if you are not into coding, all we simply are doing is we are referencing our compare before and we are referencing our compare after, which is like left image and right image. Then we are adding a image selector, sorry, image compare, which is our this, you know what is this range selector that we added, you know, blue color one with range which goes from left to right. That one we have given the class of image compare. When we click on it, that is on input, we want to change the before style set property. So basically we are saying that the POS value should be whatever the input value is in percentage. So let's say if our range is like 20, then it would use 20 percentage. So plus is like basically saying which unit we want, like this. If this was set to pixel, it would use like 20 pixel. Okay, so this would do like 20 percentage and then add it to our POS like this, and also do it for the after, and that way it would move it based on our range. And then this one is range icon and image compare. Again we are referencing it, and basically this one makes, or this code makes the image follow our range like this. Okay, whatever we are using, if we are using icon and all. So this code changes the mask from left to right. It just changes the left to right mask by changing the POS value, and this one just makes the image follow that, what you call, makes the image that we are going to use later follow that range. So let's just copy the script, and suddenly you could see it started to work. In case it does not work, try it in the live page. Okay, so let's just do preview changes. And you could see it works perfectly. And the best part is you could actually style it however we want. So if we want to do white, we could do white like this, and we could also make it be like, say, bigger in size, or maybe smaller in size, like 2 pixels only. Let's do preview changes. Don't worry if it does not look good in here, it should work around here like this. So we got an image compare very easily. And again, you could also try with container. I haven't tried it, so you could have like 2 different containers and then give it like compare before and compare after a class. It might work, but I'm not 100% sure. Now next thing is going to our tablet portrait. Let's go to our media image, this code. Okay, so this much. And what we are basically saying that if you hover on it, you could say it says 1024 pixels around here. By default, Elementor uses like 2 breakpoints, which is 1024 pixel and then 767 pixels. And breakpoints are basically saying that when the screen width reaches this breakpoint, use this styling instead of the default styling. Okay, so right now if I copy this one and paste it in our style, so which is our CSS, copy this one, let's make it like red around here so that we could see it. We can now reduce the size of our this one, so you could see like 200, 250 looks good. We can play around with values until we find something that looks good to you. 250 looked good for time being. Okay, just play around with values until you find something. We can also just make this one, you know, be 100% instead. And now we can make this one be bigger, let's say 450, 550, 520, 530, 500, 500 like this, 480, and then play around with values until you find something. Again, width we can change how we want for just the tablet. Again, very simple. We are just using this code and then just pasting it same around here, and then we are just saying that width and height should be different when the screen size is is lower than 1024 pixels. Now this also means that if you go into a mobile, it is going to use this code, because after all, mobile screen width is lower than 1024 pixels. So we could add another styling for 767 pixels like this, paste it in here, and then this is basically saying that when we are the same size, or when the screen size is lower than 767 pixels, we want the height to be 220 like this. So you could see the tablet, desktop, and stuff like this. Now let's work on adding an image that follows around here. Before that, I want to show icon, because image has like an one issue, and I'll show you how to fix that very simply. So let's quickly add an icon. Make sure we add the icon at the top. For some reason it is bugging out, because I actually have like lots of different codes running, because I was trying different stuff. Okay, make sure this one has like higher z index, so that it is on top of everything. I don't know what we should use, so let's use like this arrow icon. Okay, make it stacked, I guess. Make this one be white and make this one be black. You could use image, you could use anything that you want, doesn't really have to be this stuff. Now I'll copy this one and add it around in this custom CSS, or you could obviously add it in here too. So let's just add it here too, why not? Because this is what you will be doing when you copy this code. You will be adding in HTML. Copy this CSS and give it to this class. Make sure you have this set, because right now it is set to stretch, right? So make sure it is set to center or any other value, but basically center works nicely. You see the pink border. And in the CSS class, we gave the DM range icon. Now you could say I actually messed some code around here by not adding semicolon right here. So make sure you make sure you copy the code perfectly, else it would not work. And you can see as soon as I add the DM range icon, I actually have z index around here, so you don't really need to add it around here, but again, your choice after all, whichever one that you want to use. And I've added z index 5. I've given pointer events none. Basically what it means is that when I click on it, the interaction should not be, or the interaction should pass through this icon, whatever it is. If you don't give point event none, it might just, whenever you click, it might not interact with it. For example, you see right now it is working, but if I click on this icon, it is not changing this one. So we don't want this icon to be affecting anything. So remember to keep the pointer events none, and that way you could say it is also working. So interaction is passing through this one. And when you add pointer events none, you cannot actually select it, because it removes every single event. So make sure you are using navigator and then select it via here if you want to do some styling. We are basically given position absolute, left 50, and this way, this three values are basically a way to make it place in the center of the container. Okay, I'll actually make this one be a bit smaller, let's say like 25 pixels, or let's do 50, why not? Too much, 30. Okay, looks good. Now we have already added our code around here, so we don't really need to worry about anything. Let's just do preview changes. As long as we have added our styling, it should still work. And you could see the icon just works perfectly. It just follows it around here like this. Now another thing is, let's say you want to do an image instead. Now images do have one issue, and it's very easy to fix. It took me like much more longer, and I hate that it took me much more longer. So I'm just going to go into my image and then add the image, which is this ugly image that I created. Now what we are simply going to do is we are going to use the same CSS class that we are used on the image. Now obviously we cannot use two of this, because the code only works on the first one. So right now you could see the image has the same DM reach icon class, and this one also has the same. So the code will only work for the icon. what you call this code, which like makes it possible to like drag and drag around like this. Okay, so this code will only work to whatever it is placed first. So obviously you don't need to place both of this. So let's just delete the icon and then let's do the image. Now let me just do preview changes. Now you could see going to the left just works perfectly, but as soon as I go right, it is actually making this smaller, and it took me longer to figure out, but it's very easy to fix. That is, select the image, go in here and choose full width like this. And for this one, we can actually just play around with values like this. So I don't remember what I've actually done around here. I've just added a height and then full width, right? Okay, so what I've done is I've just added the same height that I've given around here. So here I have given the height of 500. So all I simply need to do is give a height of 500, and I'll just do something called contain. This one object fifth, and if I do preview changes, and you could see it just works perfectly. No issues at all. If any issues occur, just give this one as overflow hidden, so that anything goes outside just gets hidden. And make sure the image is better than what I've used. And also we don't want this line, right? So we can just make it be transparent like this. Change the image to something that looks nice. I wanted to have a nicer image, but I don't know how to draw like something like this. And you could actually create like a frame. You could add a frame around here and then have something like this, and it looks nice, right? Having a frame and then having an image compare. Also ability to style however you want like this. If we go to a tablet portrait, again we need to make sure that the image also has the different values that we have used. So let's say like 480 or whatever, and then if I go to mobile, we have to make sure that this one is also like smaller, 250 or whatever size that we have used, so that it just works nicely. So that's all. That's how easy it is to make. The code is in description. The only thing that you need to do is add compare and compare after a CSS class, and then I think most of the stuff just happens instantly. And just adding DM range icon, you just need to make sure you give like the right values around here. I'll also provide a template for it so that you don't have to create everything from scratch. So just check the link in description. Consider liking and subscribing for more. That's all, I guess. And if you want Elementor Pro, use the link in description. Thank you.